think we're live. We're almost live on YouTube and Instagram. Exciting. All right. Cool. Okay, so hi everybody. Thank you for joining us today. This is Tabitha. I wonder if I can make you go. Oh, I bet I can. Full screen. Oh, that's better. Look, there she is. So we'll let her do a little intro of who she is and all the amazing things that she does and knows. And then we got lots of really good questions in the on our Facebook and Instagram posts. So we'll kind of go through some of those, and then we'll see how things evolve. So
I'm sure people have questions lined up. We'll do our best to answer them all, but you'd be surprised, or not really actually, when people have a lot of behavior and cat care questions, because the information is not as out there as you would think it would be, which actually is what partially got me into behavior. So my name's Tabitha. I own Chirrups and Chatter cat and dog behavior consulting in Cleveland, Ohio. I am a fear-free and low-stress handling certified registered veterinary technician. I'm a certified cat behavior consultant, and I am a Care and Prior Academy certified training partner. So I'm a veterinary technician, but I also do cat and dog behavior consulting. I do a lot of lecturing and writing because I'm a huge fan of education, because behavior is everything. So I have a lot of free resources at my website, chirrupsandchatter.com, and you can follow me on Instagram and Facebook. And I basically lecture about everything cat and dog behavior. I help shelters and vet clinics implement fear-free and low stress, because that's a close place in my heart. Making vet visits less stressful for animals and the humans that are attached to them is a huge thing that I like to do. And then also work with shelters to implement enrichment programs and lots of other awesome things. So thanks for having me. I love talking about cats.
yeah. Sorry, okay, hold on. Adobe Flash Player just decided that it needed to.
This is what life's about.
Yeah, this is basically my life. There we go.
We roll with the punches, we get it.
Yeah, all right, okay. Progress, full screen. Here we go. Great. All right, so yeah, we're super excited about this. And I don't know if there's a way for you to actually be able to see. Nope. Me and the internet.
We connect to all the things. I love it.
I know, it's too many things to connect to at once.
No, it's so, I'm impressed. Crazy skill.
So, yeah, so we're very excited. And if you guys don't know, Tabitha helped us with Quincy, who just got adopted, and he had some kind of overstimulation, overexcitement issues when he first got here and when he had been out in the forest living sort of as a feral cat. And so we just wanted to learn how we could interact with him in a way that would be would set him up for success with his new family. So he did really well. He's obviously with his new family now, and they're doing amazingly well with him. He's like snuggly. He wants attention. He's not getting like overexcited. So we saw a huge difference in him. So that was amazing. And
Good job, everybody implementing the plan and asking for help, because I don't know everything. I reach out to colleagues. I do a lot of continuing education, and I think we all need each other. So that's a huge thing. We can all learn from each other. We all have such amazing backgrounds, and because I work in the shelter world, but also the vet world, and then the behavior world. So we all need each other.
Yeah, I think we all have different experiences and kind of know and learn different things, and then sometimes we learn things the wrong way or our assumptions are wrong, and then it takes kind of being open to other perspectives and other people's experiences, and we can all grow and do better ultimately, which is important. So so let's see. I'm gonna look.
Yeah, I know you have a few things you're looking at, so go on.
I'm just gonna look at our post and our comments. There were a whole bunch of really good questions about behavior stuff. I know, so we're probably gonna try to stay away from anything that's like super detailed and specific, just because Tabitha needs like a lot of background and in order to address like very specific cat specific things. But there were tons of things about general issues that happen to a lot of us.
Yeah.
And then general questions. So this is I don't know if you'll know this or not, but one of my cats actually does this too. But why do my cats love chewing on plastic so much? No food wrappers, just any little bag, envelope, bubble wrap. Do you know anything about that?
So there's a few reasons why. One, they really, some cats, because again, all cats are individuals, but cats really like the way it feels on their tongue, the mouth feel.
Oh.
And then also, I know it's kind of strange, but plastic bags, some of them are made of like the byproducts of animals. So they may have, again, it's not very strong or obvious, and it's something that I didn't even know. That was something I found out recently. But I think it could be appealing in that way because it can taste interesting from their perspective. But I think the biggest reason is they really like how it feels on their tongue. And that's a really great question because I actually provide chewing opportunities for a lot of the cats I work with. And that's something that a lot of people are surprised about. And when I work with dogs, of course, making chewing things available that are appropriate and giving them opportunities and outlets to chew is really important. But it's not as crucial, but for kids, they love chewing. So if your cat really likes any type of plastic, I would try to find some cat-friendly chew products, which I'll be honest, there aren't many. So I usually recommend small dog, like a fish skin, or they have tiny bully sticks, which is a dog treat, but I buy them for the petite dogs. And then they have the chewing and teething things for kittens, but those aren't great chewing things for adult cats. So there's a lot of creative ways you can give your cats appropriate outlets to chew. If you notice your cats are chewing a lot, like give them cat grass or give them something that they can chew on that's appropriate to allow them to have that outlet. Because some cats like to chew things, man.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Yep. Okay, well that's good advice. We have some cat grass in here.
I know, I see it. It's beautiful.
We had a fern in here, but Northie did a little gardening with it one night, so the fern has been sacrificed. Okay, so this is a good one, and I think this is one that many people run into in one form or another. A cat spraying. So in this particular case, I have a cat who used to be a neighbor's outside cat. He's fixed. However, now that he's an indoor cat, he randomly will spray things in the house. Feelaway made all the cats in the house stop grooming, so that's out. And stuff like this causes a lot of like emotional tension between humans in the house. It's a more than just like a pee issue. It's like your furniture is getting ruined, and it causes fighting and that sort of thing.
It's
So
a really common issue that I come across as a behavior consultant and a vet tech, because we see things like chronic cystitis, which is inflammation of the bladder. That, because again, brain health and physical health are the same thing. So a lot of times you get your cat treated for that cystitis flare up, like fluids, pain meds, but then nothing in the environment changes. And that's where I'm like, what? Which is why I see so many chronic cystitis cases, because we're really not addressing it as we need to. So with marking though, if the cat's truly marking, because I truly don't see as much, I
50%.
So it's something where a lot of people are like, my cat was fine, and then I observe the cat's gait and get a little bit more information. And again, it's not because there's a lot of reasons why I think cat pain is so underdiagnosed. And again, it's not anyone being malicious. But what was it? Is it underdiagnosed? It's underdiagnosed a lot. So with house soiling or marking, depending on which one it is, marking, which is again vertical urination, where it's on like a door or window, usually there's a few different underlying causes for it. So intact, so hormones, which tends not to be the case, but that we have to talk about it. Territorial frustrations, so which can actually cause some cats to house soil as well, which we'll talk a little bit more about. And then other animals outside. So I have one client who they had a fox in their backyard, and they were like, we have no animals in the backyard, and I was like, just for fun, just for me, just get a video. And there was the fox and the kids, so baby foxes, and that was what was causing the cat to mark. So we put on, similar to dogs who have triggers outside, to help them reduce their stress while we're working on setting up an appropriate litter box environment and all that stuff. I would tell the client to use that lovely window clean stuff that makes looking outside a little more faded, but the sun still comes in.
Oh.
Yeah, let's control those triggers, because by making the cat just see their trigger all the time, they don't get used to it. You don't get used to what you're afraid of. What tends to happen is it actually gets a lot worse. So usually I say, let's talk about, if it's truly marking, let's talk about setting up a feline-friendly litter box setup, which I'll talk a little bit about. Let's observe and be aware of the cat's triggers, which sometimes you might not know, but that's where we really have to look at. When I see Facebook posts, bless people, but they have my cat's peeing on the bed, I'm frustrated. And I'm like, that is not for anyone, even someone with my background and lots of education. You need more information before you can give advice.
Yeah.
Which is what Shelley was mentioning about for really complex issues. Behavior is complex. Every cat's an individual. So there are some basics though, for example, no matter what, if I'm dealing with marking or house soiling, first things first, I make sure there's an appropriate litter box set up. And I'm gonna be honest, guys, in my 6 to 7 years of consulting, I have never, ever, ever seen an appropriate litter box set up from the start. So it's not throwing shade, it's just, it's something to be aware of though, which is why I actually I make a lot of resources, because I think they're so important, because there's really limited cat information out there, which is why people like Shelley, and even Shelley has more resources than the general public does, and I have more resources than she does, and sometimes I can't find up-to-date, accurate resources for cats. So with the litter boxes, for example, I have it's a handout, it's an ABC of handouts or of litter boxes. So first things first, let's create, because people are like, my cat's not peeing, they're fine. And I'm like, there's basic needs for cats, right? There's food, water, scratchers, hiding places, vertical spaces, and an appropriate litter box setup. Cats have stress, no matter, even if you're the best mom ever, and you only have one cat, the cat's a prey or predator animal. They feel like they're gonna be killed or die or get hunted constantly. So there are a lot of things in our control to decrease that stress. One of those things is, let's set up an appropriate, a baseline appropriate litter box setup, which would be, for example, you guys have probably heard a lot of these things, but 1 box per cat plus 1. And the big thing is 5 boxes, guys, in one spot is 1 box. So that's because that's 1 set, that's 1 area. And house soiling and inter-cat tension and inter-cat aggression, a big reason why I tend to see that is because cats don't have enough resources. And they have to, people are like, you're territorial. Well, I grew up with siblings, guys. If there's more Diet Coke in the fridge, I would resort to physical aggression to get that. I'm not saying it's right. But I'm socialized. Most cats aren't appropriately, they don't go through kindergarten. They don't really get socialized appropriately for a variety of reasons. And then we have 4 cats, and we have a litter box in a room we're never in. We have a water near their food, which cats don't like their food near their water. Again, all these things, or people have cat rooms, and I know people are coming from a good place, but our cats are bonded to us. So when it comes to resources, which are those things I mentioned, water, food, litter boxes, scratchers, vertical places, hiding places, those are the basics. Those need to be in areas that you are in. So like this is my office, I'm here a lot, especially during COVID, and I have a litter box right here, boop, boop, boop. And you see it's very big, it's a Sterilite container, because the litter boxes they sell at pet stores are too small.
Yeah.
Which is also part of the problem. I have vertical spaces for my cats to jump on, and then I don't expect everyone, this is another tiny little box, because that's one I had left over, because I think that's really small, but I'm like, it's just extra, it's fine. All the rest of my boxes are Sterilite containers. This is just a yoga mat, and then I have a cat tree here, because I'm in my office a lot. And I have 5 cats and a dog, and a human husband. So I also have a cat carrier and some other stuff in here. My office looks normal, it's really cute, but so many people don't have enough resources for their cats. So just everyday functions like getting water or peeing, guys, they have stress with. And that can cause house soiling or inner cat tension. Because a lot of people are like, the cat's dominant. That's not a thing. Let's stop using that word. Usually, again, if I'm living in a house and I have roommates and there's only one fridge, there's already a problem, and I'm socialized. And so with cats, I think it's really important, like in your living room where you are the most, think about there should be a resting spot, and a resting spot could be a couch, but there needs to be cat-specific resting spots. And think about it like, we're in my living room, so I want to have a place for my cat here and here, so even if they're not best friends, they don't have to walk past the other cat to go pee, because we only have our resources in the basement, because then we have those cats body blocking who are casually laying in front of doorways, on top of stairs, and yes, it looks casual to you, but guys, every single day feeling worried about peeing, that really, and I think that's where I talk to my clients a lot about creating a feline-friendly environment, which includes a lot more than litter boxes, but a huge part of marking and house soiling is, first things first, let's set up an appropriate litter box setup for your kitty. So enough boxes, appropriate sizes. Is there an entrance and an exit? Because cats are prey and predator animals. So like, for example, if my box is in between this is not great. The cat has one exit and entrance, and that's an ambush area, and we're asking our cat a lot. So just, I think checking out my handout goes over even more, but setting your cats up for success, ruling out medical issues, which is easier said than done, because like I said, sometimes getting second opinions, taking videos of your cat's gait, taking videos of them being normal in your home so your vet can see, that should be part of every vet visit, because cats maybe act due to flight or fight and due to prey and predator. Even if your vet's amazing, it can be really hard for them to assess and diagnose pain, which is why it's really important that you get those videos of your cats walking, being themselves, because you might be like, they look great, and then I look at it or your vet looks at it and we're like, there's a lot of abnormalities here. Now that we see them, we can get your cat feeling better. Yay!
Yeah.
That was a really long answer, but it's a really deep question.
I know. Yeah. No. That's so great. That's so great because and we get contacted by adopters every now and then that are having issues with that, and so it's good to you look on the internet and you find kind of the basic stuff, but it doesn't always get into the why of it, and like the just how much more we need to accommodate the cats, and sometimes there are ways to do that are less intrusive to the humans, and then sometimes probably if you're just starting with a cat that's having problem behavior, do you just go all out and like 100% accommodate the cat? So you've got like giant litter box in the living room, giant litter box in the kitchen, like and then can you sort of go from there to scale it back a little bit once the behavior is corrected, or is it something that people need to kind of get more used to?
So I'll be honest, a litter box should be on every floor, and this is a conversation I had with people a lot, more than you guys would ever think. Especially with cats who are seniors, which to me, we start seeing aging changes in cats at the age of 7. And we're seeing degenerative joint disease and arthritis in cats as young as 6 months.
Wow.
Because again, pain is a very under assessed correctly, diagnosed thing. We're all just like chronic pain in humans. Doctors are awesome. Just some of this stuff isn't as easy. Like behavior and medicine aren't black and white. That's why I love them. So I think, like, if you have a 10-year-old cat and you only have a litter box in the basement, even if you only have one cat, I always tell people there's, like you said, Shelly, there's a lot of whys to why we want one box on every floor and why one cat plus one. Because first off, I want their box to be easily accessible. Because if it's a senior cat, if the cat's over the age of 7, it's very, very, very likely that they had degenerative joint disease or arthritis in at least one of their joints. And the most common joint that we see it in is their coxofemoral joint, which is what they use to posture. So some cats just go to the bathroom like this because it hurts too much to do this. Which is another reason why appropriate size boxes are important. Also, I want you to understand, asking a senior cat to walk up and down a flight of stairs to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
That's, I always tell my clients, like, I'm 36, fairly healthy, and I sometimes don't want to walk upstairs to pee. So there's no way in heck I'm making my 80-year-old arthritic grandma do that. So a lot of people are like, and there's ways to meet people in the middle. Like, if someone doesn't want a litter box in their kitchen, that's fine. There's so many other places and that's where I work with the clients, because there's a lot of right ways to do things, but differently. Just like how I work with the individual cats, I work with the individual clients. So ideally, the box should be easily accessible for that. Also, cats have issues like we do. We get GI upset, so do cats. And if they have urgency, whether it's kidney issues, diabetes, diarrhea, again, so many, right? I want their box to be easily accessible.
Yeah.
The other reason, right, we like those many boxes is because we kind of already touched on this, but if you have more than one cat, or even if you have kids or dogs or other people living in your house, you can have no other cats, and your dog can mean well, but he can be a silly, big, goofy guy, and the only way the cat can get to their litter box is if they go in a closet, again, an ambush area. People like to hide them in these terrifying places. That dog might just be chilling, or you might just be cooking, or because I dance when I cook. So I'm listening to my podcast, and my cats are used to me, but some cats would be like, whoa, that's loud and scary. I'm just going to go pee over there, which I totally get. So, and then when it comes to multiple cats, body blocking is a big issue. So I want my cat, like, if there's a cat here, I want him to have a choice to go pee or drink water over here and not have to pass this cat up to pee or drink. So that's another reason. I mean, there's so many reasons why we recommend that many boxes. Another one is, you guys might have noticed this with your cats at home, but cats prefer to defecate in one box and urinate in another. So even if you have one cat, obviously easily accessible, urgency, distraction, all these things that we already touched on, they prefer to do them in different boxes. So that's another reason. Another reason is I have 5 cats. I have 3 floors. I have 2 boxes because I have a living room, dining room, kitchen thing like most people. So I have a sterilite container box with a very low entrance, so my cats don't have to jump. So I cut a very, very low entrance because, again, guys, my cats are only 7 or 8, but I know that I want to make it easy for them to pee and poop.
Yeah.
They shouldn't have to do backflips and like hurt their legs, and they just shouldn't. So I have a litter box in my living room and then like in my dining room area, and I have a box in here. My husband has a box in his office because he works from home too, and then we have a box in our basement. I'll be honest, I only have one in there because none of us hang out there, so it doesn't hurt to have it, but my cats never use it because the box they use the most is the one in the living room. Just like if I had a bathroom on my first floor, I would not walk to the second floor. So the other thing that's really helpful is cats don't like to, they're very clean. They're way cleaner than we are. I love humans, but and ask a cat to go into a box where there's already urine or defecation, whether it's covered or not, it's asking the cat quite a lot, which is another reason why appropriately sized boxes where they could physically turn they each go to the bathroom because they have routines like we do. And like that box is already, even though I have a 30-gallon tote, it's already technically full. So this way, if I don't have time to scoop that box right away and don't have time till tonight, they have options to go and clean boxes. There's just I can go on and on about why we need lots of boxes.
No, but that's good though, because it's such a common problem. I have a cat that lost both of his back legs above the knee, or just below the knee, right after he was born, and so he has mobility issues and also like a lot of fear instinct and trauma and stuff. He's happy now and he's doing well, but he uses the box sometimes and sometimes he doesn't, and I've had to I think it's for him, he just gets the urge and he doesn't feel like waddling over to the box, and I don't really blame him for that, so I just have pee pads under all my rugs, and then when he pees on the rug I can just swap it out and clean it, and but it is, if you can't figure it out, it's definitely frustrating for people, and I think probably most of us have experienced issues with this. So, and it's a question we get a lot from adopters is, are they litter box trained and stuff, but
right, and that's a really good question too. So sometimes I hear people like, you have to re-litter box train a cat. That's not a thing, everybody. It's an instinct. So when I hear, again, I'm sure these people mean well, but they'll say things like, put them in a room with a cage to re-litter box. That's not a thing. If you put the cat in a room and they use the bathroom, they don't feel safe going to the bathroom, which is most to all of my cases.
Yeah.
Because litter boxes are put in these ambush areas, and there's inter-cat aggression that the client may not be aware of. So again, it's instincts. Like, you don't need to retrain a cat. If a cat's not using a litter box, it's a substrate. Like, they might not like there's so many things.
Yeah.
They might not like litter. The box, most litter box setups aren't appropriate to begin with, so we're kind of setting up the cats to fail in a way.
Yeah.
Because I'm a cat, but like, I used to not have an appropriate litter box setup. It makes me sad. I'm a vet tech and I didn't have one, so I'm not surprised that I have never seen one ever.
Yeah, no, it's because we're being marketed like you said, the tiny litter boxes and like the covered ones and the ones that are disguised, and I have some of those in my house also, but I also have the homemade ones that are way bigger and with like ramps and stuff. But it's a lot of effort, and if you're not like obsessed with cat pee like some of us are, then you don't really know that stuff. You don't know how much it needs to be in a part of the environment. So I think it's helpful to kind of set expectations, for us to know how to better set expectations with our doctors, and also answer questions like that, so that we can help people be successful with their pets.
Right, and I think that's because you have to realize I can explain the whys to most of the things that I see, because to me cats, because of my background, everything cats do makes sense to me. If they're peeing on a bed, I'm like, I get it. We're gonna work on fixing this, but I also totally understand why your cat's doing that.
Mm-hmm.
So we all know, because I know Shelly knows, but we all know that cats aren't spiteful. I love humans, but that's a human thing. That's not a cat thing. So if a cat's missing the box, again, they're suffering from a medical and or behavioral issue. In many cases, both.
I'm glad you said that.
If we could just break that stigma, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Because there's such poor cats get scapegoats all the time.
Yeah.
They're mysterious and aloof, and I'm like, no, they're not.
And our feral cat, people always say our feral cats are angry, and I'm like, no, they're scared.
They're scared because the language we use is really important.
Yeah.
You think your cat pissed out of the box because of spite, you're gonna be pissed, and you're gonna just open the door, which I'm not justifying that. I have empathy for all parties. Versus if you actually know the truth, because that's made up, that your cat is struggling with a medical and or behavioral issue. Because I meet a lot of clients who are frustrated, and I empathize with them. You're okay. You're allowed to be frustrated.
Yeah.
But punishing your cat for peeing outside the box is like yelling at your kid for vomiting. It's really dark. But again, I break things down in a way they can understand. And when you tell people the why, like light bulbs go off, and they're like, oh, dude, I totally get why he doesn't want to go in that small covered box, because it's an ambush party. And he's afraid
hope, don't give up, and get some behavioral advice if your cat is doing this. And
I have dealt with cases where cats have been house sitting for 10 years before they realized people like me existed. Because there aren't a lot of certified, we're working on it. The struggle is real. Like, I'm the only certified cat behavior consultant in Ohio right now. And I do a lot of virtuals, but there's more of us getting there. Because I do think being certified and having education is important if you're going to help people with more of these severe behavioral issues. But I've dealt with cases where clients were dealing with it, bless their souls, for 10 years, and they did the best they could, and then they found out I existed, and we figured it out.
Yeah, that's awesome. And we had to go all the way to Ohio to find you to help us. So, and we're in Canada, so.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so that's good. I'm just checking the chat to see if there are any follow-up questions. Someone is asking, so have they covered the best kind of cat box? So I think Tabitha was saying big, easy entry, and not obstructed by things, right? Is that kind of...
Yeah, and I can actually, the cool thing about Zoom is you can find another question and I can show some pictures because I'm a lecturer, so I'll just pull it up. Because I think pictures help.
Yeah, totally.
This is why Zoom is cool.
I feel like my Instagram camera angle has failed.
Oh no.
I mean, it's okay. It's just not. We could see you. What I can do.
Well, can you let me share my screen, love?
Yep. Here.
And then I will just show a few examples because I know this is a really common.
Oh wait.
Common thing. So.
Oh boy. Okay, hold on. Uh-oh.
No worries.
So share screen. Do you? Oh. Okay, wait.
So I think you can make me the host or co-host, and then it'll allow me to.
Okay. All right. So. I'm like an 80-year-old.
Putting Shelly on the spot and asking her to play around with Zoom stuff.
I know, right? I occasionally can do technology, but not.
I know, it's hard. I've gotten a lot better at it with the pandemic because I've gone from in live person events to webinar.
Yeah, this is probably like my 4th Zoom since the pandemic started. Oh, multiple participants can share simultaneously? That seems okay.
Alrighty. That's it.
Wait. Maybe I have to change something on my computer.
Oh no, it worked, love.
Oh, did it? Okay. Oh,
yeah,
great.
Can you see this? Can you see this screen?
I can see my screen. Hold on. Wait. Oh, yeah, now I can.
Okay.
Except I don't know. Okay.
So like I was saying, marking versus house soiling, there's some general things that because again, a lot of people don't even get that part right, which I understand, but if we're not identifying the issues correctly, we can't address them correctly. So kind of like I was saying, this is me in a airplane bathroom, and I'm 5'2", you guys, I'm pretty petite, and I can't turn around, so that's what you're telling your cats to do. This box actually tells you your super clean cats to step in their own poop. When dump in their own poop. Like when you break it down and think about it, you're like, nope, I'm surprised more cats don't have soil. I don't want them to, but they should look like this instead. These are my living room boxes, and I use yoga mats as litter mats. So this is what I mean by low entrance. So my cat can just walk in like this, and then this is an under the bed storage container. So these are appropriate sizes for litter boxes. And guys, these are like $5 and your cats are way happier. And then these are things about, and these are beautiful examples from my clients who know I use these for education. So these are examples of what not to do. These were all house soiling, intercat aggression, because I see, of course, when I see clients, it's more than one issue. So you see these arrows, there's only one entrance and exit. And this one, oh my God, there's not even that. Like, you're asking a lot of this cat. And I'm like, cats don't use the bathroom in caves. And then, of course, when it comes to litter, that's a whole other thing. But cats prefer unscented, clumping, soft litter, not these litters. Like, this is the hardest litter ever. So it's really interesting that we're like, cat has a wound on their paw. Let's give them the hardest substrate possible. And instead, what we should be doing if your cats have a wound on their paw is ripping up paper. This is good. Most of the cats I know that are on this have litter box aversion. And then there's like, guys, they have pumpkin spice litter in the fall, you guys.
I haven't seen that. That's amazing.
So again, like Shelly said, we're being marketed inappropriately in a way. And then this is just all I'm going to say about that. Not like these litter boxes. They are, like I said, you're peeing in an airplane bathroom. These robot litter boxes, you're peeing in a cup. They're insanely small. They make loud noises. You can't tell me what your cat's feces or urine looks like. There's so many reasons why I'm not a fan of these. But and then like Shelly was saying for her cat, sometimes you have to think outside the box. So I have a senior fi thing, because I think of cats and their special needs. Like to me, a declawed cat is a disabled cat, and that's okay if, let's say, you adopted a cat that was already declawed, but you need to realize that they're going to have arthritis and pain way sooner than 6.
Yeah.
Again, we just need to be aware of those things, and then just like how we senior fi for ourselves, we need to senior fi for our kitty friends. And like with Shelly's cat, he had pretty severe amputations, so it's difficult for him to move around. So even though I'm sure she finds his favorite places and keeps a box near that, that could be hard for him to do. So sometimes, like, I'll think outside the box, and it's because that's best for that senior or handicapped cat, right?
Yeah.
So hopefully that was helpful. I know that was kind of a lot of information.
No, I think that's good. It's good because it took me a long time to figure out that I could make my own litter boxes. Like, I have like a heat gun and like to melt the edges so they're not. There's probably better ways to do these things, but just figuring out.
Right? Like,
yeah. Yeah, and like how can he like scoops with his back legs? He'll like scoop out all the litter as he's exiting the box and then just deposit it in little piles. So trying to find a litter mat that has, anyway, it's been a whole thing, and I'm like probably 70% of the way there, but it's okay because it's kind of you're totally.
If that's the case of like there's pretty significant handicaps.
Yeah.
It's fine, because the same thing doesn't work for every cat. Like I see
right.
a lot of OA cats, and the boxes are definitely not big enough. But they have difficulty like turning around in their box, or they have to actually come out of their box to do their normal scooping behavior, and that's why there's litter outside the box. Yeah. Because you don't have this tiny little box. Yeah, and so I think just being creative and knowing that you have to go bigger than you think and be more open, and the yoga mat, everyone's excited about that idea. I love the yoga mat because if you guys can't tell, I like color a lot, so you can match it. I use yoga mats for everything. It's a comfortable substrate for cats, so like they put their claws in it. If your cat's a senior cat or is a declawed cat, it like shows a sturdy surface. Because some of these again, guys, I don't know who they're making this for. These cat mats, if you put your hand on them, I'm like, my hand feels icky. I can't imagine how a paw is going.
Like the toe will go right.
Right. So. And I like the yoga mats because you can cut them, they're super cheap, you can wash them in the washing machine, and then if my cats do get any litter out, when I scoop, I just pick the yoga out, and scoop it. Like it's super easy. For me, again, the same thing doesn't work, but I'm a huge fan of those.
Yeah.
I'm all about that DIY cheap life, because the things that are expensive, your cats actually don't like.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's super useful. So, yeah, okay, so I'm not seeing any new questions about that, although I'm sure that maybe some will come up. But I think this is another good question as well. How do you help the cat who gets startled by literally everything? I've got a foster, non-feral, who's on Prozac for his anxiety, aggression, obsessive compulsive behavior, but still startles and crab puffs at everything from people wearing bathrobes to the microwave timer going off. He sometimes just gets all puffy from someone walking down the hall. Redirecting his compulsive chewing would be helpful. They've tried chew toys.
So that is I I work with fearful and feral cats. It's kind of my favorite thing ever. So it's a hard answer. I think that's great that you have the cat on some anti-anxiety medications because sometimes it's indicated, sometimes it's not. But when a cat has generalized, or a human or a dog, I don't work with humans, but we all learn the same. So if you have generalized anxiety, which this cat definitely does, they're hypervigilant, they startle easily. And if any of you have anxiety, guys, anxiety makes everything harder. So you might be like, I'm not gonna hurt you, but dude, my friends, I have anxiety, and sometimes I think my friends hate me. They don't. it's just the way it is. So I think that's great that you have worked with your veterinarian to get that started. Now the other part to that too, right? So it's not just medications. We also have to do environmental and behavior modification. So, for example, I have a handout on this too. Yeah, I make handouts. I'm kidding. Please check it out. It's on my website. It's Fearful Kitten Socialization or Fearful Cat Socialization. It's literally a guide about the steps. For example, the first step is, because a lot of people want to touch the cat and interact with the cat, and you guys, we skipped over 5 steps and we're flooding them, which means if you're afraid of something, we put it to you full force. So the last thing we should be doing, unless the cat is soliciting attention, leading it to my hand, relaxed body language, consenting me to pet them, I should not be petting this cat. Because the cat's scared and I'm just like, you like this. And guess what? They don't. So I would start with something called picnicking, which is a huge thing to build a relationship. We have to start at a place where that cat can be successful, and everything is hard right now. So I think creating a comfortable environment, like I'm going to have you in one room, I'm going to have a lot of boxes, I'm going to be playing through a cat's ear, I'm going to play a purr app when I come in. Again, this is a lot, but we have to utilize all these things. I'm going to utilize considered approach, which means I'm going to keep a side approach, I'm going to avoid direct eye contact. In many cases, I tell my clients, like, I'm pretty sure I told Shelly, I was like, don't pet or talk to Quincy.
Yeah.
And I know that was a really hard thing to do, but like, most cats don't like it. And if they're stressed, it's not about you, of course. Like this client sounds, or clients, I'm so used to saying that, this person sounds awesome. But it's not about us, it's not our egos, it's this cat's struggling with everything. So first things first, let's build a relationship. Let's get a super high value treat like churro or anchovy paste or something really smelly and disgusting. And around the same time, in that safe space that you've created, away from everything else, it's smaller so there's less stimuli. Because when a cat has anxiety, sounds are hard, everything is harder, which is why we play calming music and provide them with boxes and hiding places and don't force contact with them and all this stuff. But basically what you would do is around the same time per day, this is separate from feeding. Like let's say you're free from between 8 and 9. Between 8 and 9, you just go in, you give them the treat, you do not talk, you do not reach, you do not loom, and then you leave. And at first, the cat might not eat it, and that's okay. And then 3 days in, you might notice that the cat started eating it as you left. Then the 5th day, you might notice the cat was out of her hiding spot on her own accord to eat it in front of you. So and then we're gonna go to the next step, which is I use a lot of clicker training and more in-depth behavior modification, because again, just holding the cat and some of the things I see out there, we're just kind of winging it and we're not really collecting data and we're not like, but with the steps that I do, I look at the cat's individual, how they're doing, and I don't go to the next step until they're ready. And that might look different for this cat or this cat, but picnicking provides a predictable, consistent human interaction. Literally, like, I'll be honest, guys, most cats' interactions with humans aren't. I love my humans, y'all, but they aren't great. We force contacts, we see them, we force contact, we pet them. We don't stop petting them until they scratch or run away. So we're actually ending on a negative note. So, like, to provide this cat with a predictable human structured interaction. She came in, she didn't say anything, she didn't loom over me, she didn't talk, she just left something good and then she left. And it was at the same time per day. You're building a relationship and basically providing a good thing for that cat. And then once the cat's comfortable eating in front of you, then we start doing something called capturing, and then we start doing some other clicker training to help build confidence and work with the cat at their pace. So I have a whole lecture and workshop on this. start to learn these techniques, it can be really, really helpful. And even just picnicking, I have a lot of shelters I work with just do that.
Picnicking.
And it makes a huge difference.
Interesting. I like that. I have not heard of that. I had not heard of that concept, that term, picnicking.
Yeah, because it's so easy. Everyone has time because we're all crazy. So if you are in a rescue, like you can, before you leave every day, you can just put a treat there.
Yeah.
And some people are like, the cat didn't eat it, so the cat sucks. And I'm like, first off, that's a sign of stress, and let's continue it. And then, within 5 to 7 days, usually what happens, because I do this a lot, is like I said, now the cat's eating it as the client walks away, and we're getting data and we're working with that cat at their pace, because I can't have the client do the next steps until the cat has a relationship with that person. And that does not consist of touching the cat or picking the cat up. And then I tend to have these really fearful cats. It's kind of using classical counter conditioning and desensitization, which are just fancy behavior terms that if an animal's afraid of something, we use that to change their underlying emotional state from negative to positive. So with this cat, we would utilize those, which is what the techniques I talk about in my handout are, but we basically pair it with things they like. We start at a distance that the cat's showing minimal to no signs, so again, no flooding. But then with a cat with severe anxiety, we have to start even farther back to set, because if we're asking them to do something they can't do, we're setting them up for failure. And I think we do that a lot with cats and dogs.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really, when you start them at a smaller pace and move at their pace, I can't tell you how quick I worked with some of these cats, but it was because I was working with the individual cat and I'm not saying, it's been 5 days, you should be doing this.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Interesting. So you think you can reduce, the way to sort of reduce that hypervigilance and anxiety, like the fear response, is sort of by creating consistency and reducing interactions is what kind of.
Yeah, because when an animal, which is why the environment, like in my handout, I have a whole paragraph on just creating the environment.
Yeah.
A room away from other animals. We have calming music. There's a variety of hiding places. There is food and water, and again, appropriate litter boxes. The food's away from the water. Cats don't like that. All these little things that I've learned that make a big difference every day. Because people are like, oh, that doesn't do anything. And I'm like, kind of like with Feel Away. I love Feel Away, but I think people have this concept that magic exists.
Yeah.
And I love magic, but it's not a thing. So it's a tool. Feel Away is a tool along with, just like medications are a tool along with behavior mod and environmental enrichment, which is like setting up the environment. There's no magic thing, or I'd be in Hawaii right now.
Yeah, I'd be there too, actually. You'd have to take me with you.
Yeah, let's go on a vacation. Let's get rich.
Okay.
So I think a lot of people say like certain things don't work, or what a lot of my clients do is they get frustrated, understandably, and they throw a bunch of things at a thing, and no one's collecting data, no one's asking the cat, no one's even observing the function of that, like the underlying cause of that behavior.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing too. Like.
Yeah. So so I want to ask you a follow-up to that then. Different scenario, because obviously we have a different scenario, but the one thing that has been super helpful for us has been having them on a live stream 24/7 so that we can observe kind of their behavior when the humans aren't around, how quickly it takes them to recover from visits, kind of like what is motivating them, what toys they like, where they like to hang out, how they're interacting with the other cats, that sort of thing. So we've learned a lot that way. So I think that's something that you said that's really important, because it's been super helpful for us just to be able to see how they are when we're not with them. And if they're doing like normal cat stuff, like they usually come out at night, our ferals, we usually come out at night and start to play and stuff when we're not there.
Playing? Are they grooming? Are they?
Yeah.
A lot of people are like, the cat's not stressed, and I'm like,
yeah,
the cat is. But that's where we work together to figure out like what pain looks like or what stress looks like, because sometimes it's not as obvious as we think. Just like we have friends with anxiety we know about.
Yeah.
It's cats. So the cool thing about it being 2021 is I have a cat I saw yesterday, and I had the client take video.
Yeah.
Set up your iPad.
Yeah. And then you can
so I can assess also the cat's gait, how they move from a medical standpoint, how they eat.
Yeah. Get to know
But this
them.
cat's really fearful. So we have to start with where is this cat comfortable, and then we created a comfortable environment. We seniorified because the cat is a senior, and just them adding a few senior changes, they said that it's the most the cat has ever came out of their hiding spot.
Oh.
And all they did was, so again, a lot of little things can make a really big difference, but videos, everyone has iPhones these days.
Yeah.
So the behavior consultant, I have my clients get videos all the time. It's so helpful.
Super
I can
helpful.
totally see how that would be, because then you're not assuming, you're actually seeing the cat's.
And we've in fact learned so many of our assumptions have been wrong because we've observed them to be wrong.
You're so awesome for saying that. None of us are right all the time. Half of us don't know anything.
I mean, I had no idea.
No, so I think asking the cat directly, it sounds boring, but I can't tell you how often that doesn't happen. People just create narrative stories and don't want to ask the cat, and the other cat doesn't speak, but I can read a cat's body. They do speak just differently, so we need to learn how to, this cat fit out of nowhere. Did they?
Yeah.
Super unlikely, guys. But that's why we reach out to behavior professionals or hey, let's get a video of the cat. How quick, I love that you said that, Shelly. Those are things I ask my clients about all the time. If the cat did have a fear response, how quick did they return to baseline? Yeah. So if I'm dealing with inner cat aggression, and even though they're separated, they accidentally got out. It happens sometimes. Okay. Even though we try to prevent that, I ask the clients, if it does happen, thank you for telling me, because that tells me that we have to go back a step and where we're at. But when did each cat return to baseline, to a place where they could focus, respiratory rate was normal? Sometimes it's 4 hours, sometimes it's 5 days. But that's helpful information for us. Yeah. So, okay, so here's my follow-up question then, that because we're in a position where we're taking in mostly feral cats that are they're highly stressed, they're very fearful, and then there's usually an urgent medical situation that we need to treat. So, for example, someone trapped a very pregnant cat a couple of days ago, so she's been here for probably 36 hours. And what we started doing is trying to push their boundaries a little bit more before they give birth, so that once they give birth, they're less stressed by us handling the kittens, because we weigh them twice a day, and we've had so many kitten illnesses from our colonies that we've had to treat 3-day-old kittens with UTIs and explosive eye pus and all this stuff that you can't just leave alone. So, do you have any? So, I tried to find the balance. Where it's the need, right? So because we have to look at because I'm a vet tech, right? So there are needs. So in those cases, will stress exist? Yes. It's okay. We have to acknowledge that. But is there things still in our control to decrease stress? Heck yes. Yeah. So in cases like that, that's where I'm a huge proponent, as you probably know, Shelly, of fear-free handling and low-stress handling and whatever you want to call it, feline-friendly handling. For example, I don't scruff cats. That's a whole other conversation. But I was taught to do that in tech school. Yeah. As we've progressed in the field, we've realized that handling technique actually causes more stress. So, for example, when I am working with a kitten, if I like you said, if I have to deal with an animal that's stressful, I'm going to do everything in my power to decrease stress. So I'm going to use considerate approach. I know off the top of my head, I know 40 or 50 handling techniques for cats. I didn't when I started, and I'm a vet tech. So again, it's all about learning more. Mm-hmm. I know you have, Shelly, and I have a lot of shelters and vet clinics who are amazing, and they're like, can we do a cat dog friendly feline handling workshop or whatever? Because I started by watching someone speak, and I'm like, this is so cool. And that was a really long time ago. So we all have to start somewhere. So I think utilizing what we can in that situation to make it less stressful. So for example, when I'm using a towel, I'm going to use a towel right out of the dryer. I'm going to have a yoga mat, and I'm not going to put a cat on a cold metal table. Things that seem really common sense, but I'll be honest, these are things I used to not think about. Yeah. Little I have a kit, a bath caddy thing because I go to shelters and vet clinics, and it has all my stuff. It has topical lidocaine and warming things, a towel warmer, things like just things that I bring around with me to make things less, because again, they're going to be stressful, but there's a lot of little things that we could do that makes a big difference. Like, I'm going to have a purring app. I'm only going to do one kitten at a time. I'm going to use feline friendly handling. I mean, that's a whole other thing, but that's really important because most of us were only taught one thing, and we were taught to just hold them tighter, which causes them to actually panic more, and is a big reason why most cats don't like the vet, because it's not great. But we don't know what else to do in that situation. But, you know, so I think setting up the environment, like, for example, if you're giving a vaccine or you're giving an injection, changing the needle to a new needle, because under a microscope, guys, once a needle's been in two things, I want you to see how jagged it is. It's in my lecture. It's a little thing, but gosh, does it make a difference? So that's a really, really great question, because I totally, and be realistic. Like, again, we're all doing the best we can with what we know. I truly believe that. So, for example, let's say that those cats do get in a fight in a cage, or we have a kitten who's fearful and we have to medicate them. We're going to be aware that we might have to, everyone I work with, I don't say, because so many times I hear 7 days, 5 days, and I'm like, where are people getting these numbers from? And they can't tell me. So yeah, we should totally, on a side note, I would love to do like a fearful kitten. We could do something in the future. Yeah. Fearful kitten handling techniques. Because again, that's a whole nother, all these things, I know there's such big topics.
I know, so many things.
But there's so many things that you can do, because I know you're already doing some of those things, because you guys have learned through trial and error. Yeah. This is a little, it makes them less stressed. Yeah, we have very good outcomes. It's just, you know, like, it's hard to see her panting, you know, it's hard to see the stress, and then not always be able to, well, rarely be able to eliminate it in that initial period. And usually, like, for cats who are in shelters, if they're getting medical treatment, ideally, again, I recommend feline. I think handling's a skill, and a lot of us don't. In shelter, it's not really treated as a skill, and I wish we taught it as a skill more. Yeah. But there are so many things that are in your control that you can do even before you learn the handling techniques. Yeah. That you can do, like, for example, I'm going to, when I'm approaching a cat for a kitten for eye drops, I'm not going to do it like this. Yeah. I'm going to do it like this, you know? Yeah. I'm going to be giving them a treat with this. Like, we can definitely talk more about that, but I think that's a really good one. Yeah, okay, good. So, and here's another one that's, have you noticed with, like, adult feral cats? So we've noticed, you know how when you first touch them, they will flinch often? Mm-hmm. So sometimes, because we have to medicate them or treat them, or we need to get them, like, a lot of them we get in with, like, kidney disease or things that need ongoing medical care, so we have to socialize them. And so we try to push them a little bit, and once we get past the flinch and we keep petting them, or we use, like, the toothbrushes. Maggie doesn't want me to toothbrush them right now, but we'll use these, and then within, like, a minute or two, they'll be leaning into it, and, like, it seems to reassure them a lot of the time, but we have to get past that initial kind of flinch. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's where reading body language is hard. So what I see, a lot of clients will be like, this kitten is loving me, and they're actually frozen in fear. So, like, the body language is being misinterpreted. But I think in the case of that, like, I'm going to use considered approach, and like, when I do behavior mod, or when I'm doing anything, I start at a distance. I assess the cat, because you're a trigger. Like, it's not personal, guys. You're a trigger. So I might, like for example, I use toothbrushes on dowel rods, because I think that thing is great. But sometimes I like to start even farther away. Yeah. And then, like you said, we focus on the head, neck, and shoulders, which is where cats prefer. And then if they start to lean in, like you said, you basically do a considered approach upon arrival, and then you're gonna do the fluids or whatever, and then usually I say, like, let's like try to end with a play session, or there's a lot of positive distraction. There's so many tools that we can use.
Yeah.
But we so commonly like let go of them and then they run, and that's not the case with the cats I work with.
Yeah.
They're chill there.
Yeah.
So I think my approach is I'm utilizing so many of these things, but I basically what you were doing was using considered approach and not being like, what's up?
Yeah. Yeah. We are pretty good about it.
Yeah, when you use considered approach, as you probably can imagine, it makes such a big difference for these guys.
Yeah, it's super. One of our first ferals, we had to do eye drops multiple times a day, which is like one of the worst things that you can have to do to like an adult feral. Yeah, because you're like, so we were like, oh. But anyway, it all worked out. But we have learned a lot of things. But I'm always trying to figure out. And I always feel guilt when they are stressed, because I feel like we should be able to fix it.
It's hard, like, trust me, I hate, it's a strong word, I don't like labels, but I hate seeing animals stressed. But with all the tools that I've learned and I continue to learn, some of that guilt has been a little easier for me, because I know I'm truly, which I'm sure you are as well, I know that I'm truly doing everything in my power to decrease stress.
Yeah.
I'm doing everything in my power to not make this a traumatic experience, and that's all we can do. Which, again, don't get me wrong, I still need to have an alcoholic beverage from time to time. So that's hard. Don't judge me, everybody. But there are like times where we're gonna have I deal with cats who've been fired from clinics and very, very fair, like you know, very, because you work with some feral cats. I work with pretty feral cats, and when I start utilizing considered approach and all these other things, they try to bite everyone else, and then they're okay with me. But again, it's not because we're magic; it's because we're working with the cat.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I think that's a good point about like just.
Even though
anyway, thank you for the pep talk, and it's good. I think that's anyway. All right, back to the regular questions. So my rescued adult girl is very food focused. She gets 4 meals a day, but is obsessed with food. I feel like this is also maybe a common one. Like a couple of our cats are very food obsessed. Is there any suggestions for how to stop her begging for food, or like that, kind of sense of urgency that the cat is desperate for food, or even like
she feeds her cat 4 times a day. I think that's great. I know everyone can't do that, and I totally get that as well. But cats naturally eat 8 to 20 meals a day. So I feed my cats 3 times a day, because realistically, I would love to feed my cats 20 times a day, guys, but I can't. So one of the first things, I know this sounds silly, but I calculate calories as a vet tech for my clients, because sometimes the back of bags, it's hard to gauge, because they say feed this much, but then I think it's just marketing. So I'm like, so sometimes, honestly, cats aren't getting fed enough, like their nutritional needs aren't being met. So to me, that's just an easy thing I do for my clients, or I would ask your vet, like, calculate the calories of what you're feeding your cat. They get their cat's resting energy rate. It's a fairly easy thing to do that a veterinary professional can do. So first things first, let's just, because you'd be surprised how often that happens, where I'm like, you're awesome, but you were underfeeding your cat for an extended period of time. So double check the calories and make sure the nutrition's adequate. And then the other thing I would recommend is, if they're little sandwiches with the food, I am a huge fan of puzzle toys, which I'm sure some of them are probably familiar with. So like, I have a few probably in here. Oh yeah. So I have a pill dial, because I'm DIY. I have the bottom of an Easter egg. It's a really great beginner puzzle toy. I have a Doc and Phoebe mouse. So these are just they're in my house. I'm messy. But I am a huge fan of feeding cats with puzzle toys, because it is a lot more natural way for them to eat. Like cats, guys, they hunt most of their day, and like I said, they eat 8 to 20 meals a day. A mouse is only 30 kcals. I know that's weird, but I know that. So cats eat small amounts of calories at a time. So puzzle toys are, I love mice too, so I don't want to bring them in my house for my cats to eat. So they have a lot of great puzzle toys, so your cats can eat more instinctively, like be cats. It's a great outlet to allow, because a lot of cats aren't allowed to be cats, and that's why we see behavior issues. So I would definitely recommend starting to utilize puzzle toys. But when it comes to puzzle toys, a lot of people like take their cat's bowl away and just give them this toy. Don't want to do that. So every cat's an individual, right? So usually the first step in introducing puzzle toys is I tell my clients to, like, cats are up at dawn and dusk to hunt. So my cats get wet food, but then before we go to bed, I spill 30 puzzle toys because I have a variety with 1/4 cup of food. So like 2 or 3 kibble at each one. I hide them around. They live their best lives and hunt while I'm sleeping. So because it's most natural for them. And I like dry food as treats, so they get dry food as a treat. So what I would start with is if you have one cat, getting 5 to 10 I would start with treats. And then place them in your cat's favorite resting areas. So like you guys know where your cats sleep. And then like 2 nights in, you're like, dude, my cat followed me around and ate them all immediately. That means you're ready to go again, because every cat's different. That means you're ready to go to the next step. So then what I would do is get a really simple puzzle toy, like the bottom of an Easter egg, or a toilet paper roll that's cut in half, but the ends are folded in, and place them in those same areas. And then again, if the cat is doing well with that, then we start to increase the challenge with like toys like stationary toys are boring. So my cats are at a point where I have stationary toys like this, and then I have toys that they knock off. But a lot of us start with these toys, and I'm not saying that these aren't great, but cats like to knock and kill things. So offer both. And there's this really great website called puzzlesforcats.com that goes over a lot of really great DIY puzzle toys. But go at the rate your cat is comfortable with, and then start to use their diet. And some cats will take to it right away, but it's a process. Like every cat's an individual. I dealt with 19-year-old cats who my clients like, they never play, and I'm like, I give them a puzzle toy, and they're living their best lives, and if they don't use it, they lose it. Same thing with humans. So not only does it help serve enrichment outlets, it allows them to be cats, it's super lazy enrichment for you, and it can help with some of that. Food is the most exciting thing I have all day because I have no other enrichment. So that would probably be my go-to thing to do.
Okay. And then what if the cat's on sort of like a diet and you have to limit the amount of food?
So you can still feed with puzzle toys. You would just, like, for example, when I calculate calories for my clients, I'll calculate like a temptation is 2 kcals. So you could just use their kibble and see how that goes, but usually when I first start to introduce it, I'll use the few treats. But just be aware of how much you're eating, and also I actually see a lot of weight loss with cats when we feed them with puzzle toys, which is one of the reasons why I think I see so many obese cats is because we feed them in bowls and we don't feed naturally at all. So actually that would probably help your cat with some weight loss too.
Yeah, okay.
But I would just consider just consider how much they're eating and calculate. Just like I calculate calories for ice cream for me. I eat ice cream once a week. Not every day works. I'm on a diet. That's my diet, and that's okay. So you got to start somewhere realistic. I'm not just like, that's crazy.
That's impressive to go 6 days a week without ice cream, I think.
I know. Thank you. See, celebrate successive approximations.
Yeah.
And now that it's getting nicer out, I'm like, dude, I want ice cream every time.
Yeah, it's ice cream weather.
Yes.
Unfortunately. Someone just asked, can puzzle toys work for humans too?
Dude, actually, you think that I would try that by now? That has to be a thing.
Yeah.
It totally has to be a thing. I can't. Now I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah.
Wherever you are, I'm gonna Google it after this.
Yeah, like there's a puzzle cone that you have to unlock to get into the ice cream. I think there's something to that.
TM that girl. Trademark.
Yeah.
Trademark.
Yep. Okay, here's another one. And I don't know what you let me know when you're out of time also, because I'm not good at time management. Cool. Okay.
Jill, like I said, I could talk about cats forever.
I know. Cats. Okay, so what does it mean when my cat suddenly jumps up and desperately tries to lick his side? His back twitches, he then runs around like a zooming kitten, but it isn't funny. For the hour or two that follows, he wanders the house and seems very unsettled.
Very, very, very good observation, dude. So ideally I would see a video of it to really help. Because I don't want to, as a vet tech, I don't prescribe or diagnose, but I don't want to say any, because I'm thinking some things, but I would need more information before I tell you. So what I would do is I would definitely mention, I would take video of it if you can. Video always, guys. I would mention it to your vet. It sounds a little bit like a few things that I tend to see in kitty cats. But it may not be. Again, I would need more information. But sometimes cats get something called hyperesthesia, which is basically their skin is sensitive and tingle, and it feels weird. Like cats will chew on their tails to the point where they hurt themselves. They'll spin. They'll kind of like do that, like they just look unsettled, uncomfortable. Their skin is rolling or twitching. And it's something that, again, is sometimes a little difficult to diagnose for a variety of reasons. There are things to help your cat. I would honestly, I'm a huge fan, you probably can tell, of vlogs and data. So I would take a video of it, start keeping track of when it happens. And then when your cat's doing it, it sounds like you already don't try to pick him up or interact with him because you can tell he's not feeling well, which I think is awesome. But I would try to, if it's around the same time every day, because sometimes that doesn't sound like the zoomies, that sounds like he's having some skin sensitivity issues. So I'm thinking hyperesthesia syndrome, but again, look into it. If you email me, I can send you some more articles on it, and you can talk to your veterinarian about it, because it's something, just like cat pain, I think is underdiagnosed quite a lot.
And is treatable?
What'd you say?
And is it treatable? It is treatable, or at least
it is
manageable?
No, it's one of those things where it's managed, right?
Yeah.
So, because some of us, again, we're still learning a lot. Like some of us feel like that it's more of a neuro thing. Again, there's evidence to support both things, so we're not sure.
Yeah.
Some people like so they'll do like seizure medications and things like that. But then there's also a pain component possibly, or a behavior component, and that's where I think that's why it's not well understood, because there is a lot of information on it for veterinary professionals, but it is a newer thing, kind of like Pandora syndrome, which is, if a cat has chronic cystitis, Pandora syndrome is something that I call it, but not a lot of people understand that terminology yet, which if your cat has like fluid, like the lower urinary tract disorder, chronic cystitis, all of these things are kind of Pandora syndrome. But again, these are things you should definitely research, talk to your vet about, get a video of it. And then the other thing I would do is, if it's around the same time of night, I would, like, let's say your cat runs around like a crazy guy at between 6 and 7, because usually it's dusk in my experience for cats and dogs. 30 minutes before that happens, give him an enrichment activity. So clicker train with him. Give him a snuffle mat where he snuffles his nose in to find the treats. Hide the treat game. Give him a box with tissue paper and some treats. Again, there's so many I have enrichment stuff on my website too. There's so many options, but give him something for him to be a cat and have an outlet. Because sometimes this sounds a little more medical, but sometimes cats do those zoomies because they're bored as heck. So let's give them an outlet for that behavior prior to them having that zoomie.
Interesting. Okay, interesting. All right, there's a lot of conversation about ice cream and food locks going on in the chat right now.
Oh my god, I love it! I love it so much. The cat people are good people, y'all.
Yeah, that's good. Here's an interesting question. Do you know why cats drown their toys in their water bowl? Just part of prey activity?
Again, there's a lot of things we're never 100% on anything, really. There's a few reasons why I think because it's fun and the way water moves. Like with my cats, I have a shallow bowl and I have a ping pong ball in their water all the time. And it's cost a lot more because it makes the water ripple like a lake. So, and actually, since I've done that, now that I say that, I haven't. Oh my god, you guys, I'm having a revelation. Since I've done the ping pong ball, I haven't noticed my cat put his toy in it anymore.
Interesting.
So, see, this is where things are funny. Like, do they put it in there because they like the way the water ripples, and they're just playing with the water? That would probably be my biggest thing. But yeah, shallow, deep bowls, like dog shallow, deep bowls, are my favorite for cats. And then putting a ping pong ball in it because it makes the water ripple and it makes cats. It's more like a lake, and in my experience, cats like it a lot more.
Interesting.
But yeah, I think it's usually for fun. Or now that I'm thinking about it, it might be because they like to see the water ripple, and then when it's in there, they don't want to get it back out because it's all gross. Because they never take it out.
That's true.
You take it out.
You just find it all soggy and floating. Okay.
Yeah, you're like, let's straighten this out and let him do this again. Fun game. Or your cat might like play, like, I have one puzzle toy where there's ping pong balls in it and you can put water in it and they can play in the water. So cute. Or you can fill your bathtub with a tiny bit of water. This is how I counter condition and desensitize cats to baths. We start with a really small amount of water and put some ping pong balls in it and they play with it.
Oh, that's a good idea.
And then we slowly start to, I do a lot of like cooperative care where cats enjoy their medications and stuff like that. And it's all about, as you probably see, there's a pattern. I work at the cat's pace. I work below threshold, below the stress. I break things down and I increase the criteria based on the individual cat. But it makes, you can really apply it to a lot of things.
Yeah, interesting. All right. I'm trying to get back into the.
I know you probably have 30 things you're reading.
No, I'm just.
Joining us. I'm so glad that people came.
Yeah, that's it. A lot of people have been looking forward to it, and it's just nice to know that there's someone who can explain things. Like we see so many strange things, and we're kind of like, I wonder why that's happening. But it's nice to have someone who has some data and research and experience who can give us some ideas, or you've seen it before, or there's hope that if people are having these problems that we can get to the bottom of it. So hopefully, I'm hoping that more people will be available and are getting into the behavior field so that we can have more access to people.
It's
like
definitely
you.
getting more. Obviously, I'm biased because I'm friends with all those people. I think the world is getting better because even with mental health, and I call it brain health, but humans we have some places to grow.
Oh yeah.
So it's the same with animals because literally, guys, we all learn the same. Every animal and human's an individual. There's contributing factors. There's lots of things that we need to consider, but I think we're starting to slowly understand like brain health and physical health are the same thing, but it's a process with humans too, right?
Oh yeah.
So we're getting there though. We're totally getting there, and it's getting better every day.
Yeah, I think so. But you're right, and the brain and the physical are very intertwined. So if we can figure out how to address brain health, then that always helps.
Like if you have a cat with chronic URIs or chronic cystitis, stress is playing a huge, which is what Pandora syndrome, that word I used earlier. It basically is saying how stress is a huge contributing factor, and that often isn't it's not a threat. The environment doesn't change. There's things we can't control everything, but there are a lot of things in our control. Whether you work at a shelter, a vet clinic, or in your home, that now that we know about cats, that we can make that are super easy to do that can make them less stressful every day. And when they have that less stress every day or every time they see you, it really adds up.
Yeah. I think that's good advice. And sometimes even little changes will make a difference. So do you guys in chat, if we probably have time for one more question, if someone has a burning question that we haven't gotten to. I know there's still lots of Riker is one of our this guy here is one of our ferals that we thought was going to be returned, but then he has severe lung disease and heart disease and some other toxo and mycoplasma and calicivirus and all the usual stuff. But and then he's a little bit nervous right now because of the voice in the computer and the also
there's all weird things.
Yeah, so he's a little nervous, but he's like the sweetest, floppiest, purriest cat, and he's like 6, and now he's gonna get adopted into a home. So that was kind of cool. Anyway,
that's another thing. Like, cats and labels. I kind of touched on that a little bit earlier, but like they're used quite a lot. So I can't tell you how many people like grumpy cat. That's a big trigger for me.
Yeah.
Because hey guys, those grumpy cats are painful cats.
Yeah.
And I wish it wasn't so common, but I've dealt with thousands of cases. It's just that grumpy cat was a painful cat, or that fractious cat, which is another word I don't use. Because it doesn't really describe what's happening. It just has you kind of create this narrative in your head.
Yeah.
Is a fearful cat. So I think, like, we kind of been touching back on this, but like looking at that cat as an individual, not using labels, working to figure out what the underlying cause is, which in many cases is more than one thing.
Yeah.
Which is why I think it is hard, and medicine, it can be hard. I think it's fun. But I also totally get how it could be really frustrating, which is why, like you mentioned before, we all need to ask for help and have a support system and know when to ask for help. Because even as a behavior professional, I do continuing education constantly. I never stop learning. I think that's a big part of doing rescue, working in any field. Obviously, we're relating it to what we do. But if that person hasn't learned, if they're doing the same thing and it's been 10 years, that's a concerning factor. Because things have changed better. That's why we call it practicing med, or practicing shelter medicine, because we're always improving and learning from these amazing creatures. What I knew even like a year ago to what I know now is crazy.
Yeah, totally. When we first started with TNR, I thought things were totally different, and then I saw the pregnant cats and I was like, we can't just keep spay aborting them, because it was too emotionally hard for me. So I like turned a basement room into a forest. We brought like logs in, and like it was like a whole forest environment that replicated where she came from, and she gave birth in a box of dirt and not any of my amazing nests that I built her. But it was this whole big process of going from that to like now we have kind of nests with like remote sliding doors, and we can monitor them, and it's, I think, so much easier. But I always wonder, like, what are we going to be doing next year that I'm going to look back at this year and be like, oh, that was so dumb. It was so obvious. We should have been doing that.
I mean, the pandemic has sucked for all of us, let's be honest, but I've actually seen, like, a lot of the rescues and vet clinics I work with have really, like, because again, we're kind of thrown to the wolves sometimes, which is not great. But I've seen a lot of really cool things come of it. Like the way shelters have adapted. Like, for example, you definitely know this, but like, not all cats should be, people call them show cat, whatever. Not all cats should be in a store setting. And they're still very adoptable and happy, but like, we're setting them up for failure by putting them in that setting when we could just take a picture and talk about them and Zoom.
Yeah.
And that's something I've seen a lot more of, which makes me so happy. And again, I think a lot of good things have actually, and again, I'm a positive kind of gal, but I think some things I've seen shelters do in this time, a lot of shelters I've worked with have implemented some foster programs, enrichment programs, kitten kindergarten, all these things that are like life-changing. Keep cats in their home, get them adopted. Like, it's been really, really, really cool. even though I know we're all tired too, and that's okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Like, that's okay too.
Yes. Okay, one more question that's come up a couple times now since I asked. How, what do you tell people about nail trims? Like how to approach them? Do you feel like gabapentin is something that would be helpful? Do you recommend like just doing a few at a time, waiting till they're sleepy? Are there any like?
I think it's and again I keep saying this, right? It depends on the patient.
Yeah.
And their history. So most of the cats I work with have severe trauma with nail trims, just like dogs, because again, some of us have been taught to do some things that we didn't realize was causing mental and physical anguish. So like PPPs or pre-visit pharmaceuticals like gabapentin or other medications can be helpful, but you can't just do that.
Yeah.
That's the big thing. You got to do behavior mod and work at the cat's pace, because I see some people who try to do that, and like I understand the cat maybe, because the goal of anti-anxiety meds aren't to sedate; they're to reduce anxiety. Because if you just like if you full blown sedate the cat like with an injectable, like with your vet, and they do the blower, I think that's great. But the goal should be the cat's really sleepy, so now we can cut his nails. The goal should be the cat's really sleepy, we're still going to use feline friendly handling and keep this cat, like, is this nail trim a need or is it a want? Because in many cases, guys, it's a need or it's a want, it's not a need. So for example, what I would say, I actually have a few videos on my YouTube about some techniques to cut nails, because again, it can look different. But both of the, like the one technique, I just feed my cat on a plate. I use considered approach. I cut one nail at a time, and it's again, I'm not physically manipulating my cat, but so many of us have been taught, let's not allow the cat to sit how they want. Let's physically manipulate them, stress them out, and then they're panicked because they're held down. And then, are they really reacting to the nail trim, or are they reacting to the restraint?
Interesting.
So, like for example, just like I can't tell you how many cats I've just utilized considered approach with. Gave some squeeze cheese, cut like 1 or 3 nails at their consult, and they're like, oh my god. And I'm like, but it's because so many of us have been taught, like, because towel handling is a wonderful thing, but towel handling is a skill. It's a lot more than just putting a towel over a cat, right? And it's not appropriate for, like, a lot of cats just want to stand up, guys, and eat food. And then I use a touch gradient. So, like, for example, instead of grabbing their nails or grabbing their leg, I start at a place that's not stressful, I go down, and then I cut their nails. Like little things that make a big difference. So I think with the cat in your home, like, stop before they're over threshold. So if your cat's actively trying to get away, they are very over threshold. They were over threshold probably 3 signs ago. And guys, because next time, it's just gonna, like, it doesn't get better. They remember that traumatic event, and sometimes they can even generalize that to the human, or they see the nail trims, or they see you go to the shelf with the nail trimmers and they hide. That's how severe that generalization of fear has happened. And again, sometimes we can be like, oh, this is funny, but it's not funny, because that's some pretty severe trauma. So the goal is to, like, I love the idea of giving the cat, like, pairing it with, like, here's some squeeze cheese. Like, I have a video on my YouTube that you can find. I actually spell my cat's name out in cheese. And I cut her nails in 2 different ways. And then I have other cats where I'm like, you know what, we're gonna just cut the back nails, because that's less most cats have less stress with back nails than their front nails. So I'm gonna cut 2 nails today with cheese. We're gonna end on a good note. And then 3 days later, I'll do it again. But since we started and stopped at a place where the cat wasn't horribly stressed out, it gets easier every time, versus what most of us have been taught to do, where we get it done.
Yeah.
And then the cat's severely traumatized, we're scratched up, and good luck.
Yeah.
And now the cat, unfortunately, it doesn't get better. And you can even take it to another level and, like, do cooperative care, where we break each thing, which sounds like a lot of work, but it's a really helpful thing when you have to cut your cat's nails for the rest of their life if we just make it positive from the beginning. Like in my kindergarten classes, we teach the cats to happily accept being on their back and have their nails cut when they're young, so then the client can cut the cat's, if the cat just lays on their back and it's not stressful.
Yeah.
It's a good, so like if you run a rescue and you have a foster program, like do kindergarten and like do things, because there's so many things that like when they're that young, we just have to pair it with good things.
Yeah.
And not put them over threshold, and we set them up for success. But as they get older, again, going at their pace, using considered approach, avoiding, we're so about physical restraint with cats, and so many of the times if we just let them sit like they want, they do so much better. So I know that those are some broad answers.
No, I think that's great though. That it's super helpful to try to sort of frame it differently. That it's like assess how urgent it is and like approach them where they're comfortable and kind of just try to keep it positive, and then you don't always have to do the whole thing, get it done, but just sort of train them that it's.
Because your pets live with you. Like you might be like, I'm gonna give you a treat, I'm gonna cut one nail, and I'm gonna give you another treat, and I'm gonna give you, like, sometimes I'll give my cat a treat, I'll cut a nail, and then I toss treats, because then it's more, not only are they getting treats, but then they're getting reinforced with the play of the catching the treat.
Yeah.
Like that's how I taught my cat to be medicated, because I had to medicate her, so we didn't have time to do a lot of training. So I was like, how can I make this as least shitty as possible?
Yeah.
So literally, I used considered approach, and feline friendly handling, and I gave her medication, and then I threw a bunch of treats on the counter where she was at. So it was like a fun game, and that's how I started. And now she goes there on her own accord and meows and says, "Mom, you forgot to give me my meds, dude." So
that's awesome.
some of it, I know I make it sound really easy, but some of it's easier than we think.
Yeah, I think we get stressed out about it, and then we sort of just want to get it over with, and that
Right. And then,
I've done that. I mean,
it's stressful for everybody.
Yeah.
I know. I think cooperative care is such a close place in my heart, because I know some people who are like, I can't medicate my cat. I don't want the bond between me and my cat to be stressful.
Yeah.
Every time we give meds, it's a horrible ordeal for both of us. It doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah.
Because but again, it's something like cooperative cat care isn't something that's talked about. So a lot of people don't even know it's a thing.
Yeah.
Like I didn't. I'm not gonna lie to you. I never heard of it until I got really into cat behavior, and I'm like, I can train my cat to like love their meds. I'm like, shit, that's awesome. I can preventively teach this to kittens. Oh my god, sick.
Yeah.
So it's just, there's a lot of really cool options.
That's awesome. So, well, thank you for spending so much time with us. I think everyone was pretty excited about what they're hearing. I think it's so amazing to learn just all the little tips and tricks, and that it sometimes is easier to make changes than we might think, and that there is hope, and that if we just think about it from a different angle, sometimes we can figure out better ways to accomplish things and set them up for success and make it better for both the human and the cat. And that's kind of
You summarized that so well. Shelly was listening, you guys. It's amazing.
I know, because I want to learn. I want so badly to do things better, like all the time. And I know.
I think that's what we all want. We all want what's best, but sometimes, and me and Shelly talked about this, like where we wanted to do better, but like for example, I say with rescues all the time, I'm like, a lot of the cat behavior resources, even if you want what's best, a lot of the ones that are out there are outdated and including not the best information. So it can be hard sometimes, or the general public, like they're trying to find information, and all their friends are telling them that just their cat's pissed, and all these weird myths and labels and things that are poor cats.
Yeah, it is tough. And family dynamics, human dynamics, it's complicated to navigate. So I think I appreciate that you're making it more accessible and kind of breaking it down and helping people through that. And I'm excited to have you as kind of another resource for us when we get into some of these issues like with Quincy, who we don't get a lot of overstimulated cats from the feral feral colony.
Interesting. Of course, I mean, but it makes sense, like you were saying. Like usually they don't want to interact.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, please. Yeah, yeah. So we were kind of like, oh, this is different, and we just want to make sure that we know that we're sending him into a home who appreciates him for everything that he is and all of the special quirks that he has, and they're doing awesome. So I am excited to. I think we'll be talking a lot more as we get some interesting cases in, because you've already helped a lot, and I think also for our adopters, all of the questions and potentially if people can talk to a behaviorist. We can avoid having to rehome cats, getting cats surrendered, because a lot of those.
Yeah, I'm a huge pet retention thing, and that's what I've been telling rescues. Like, again, I like to focus on the positive. I think we're really good at getting animals adopted. We're really good at spaying and neutering, and now it's about keeping those animals in their homes, because that's the part that we're always improving, right?
Yeah.
And a big part of that is being realistic, like you were saying, Shelley, like setting realistic expectations, breaking some of these myths and these stigmas and these labels. Because I love my cat people, but they're the ones I see using those labels a lot.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I understand how these have been perpetuated. Meeting the people where they're at, not judging, being kind, and then just always learning more. For sure, I think that's a big way to keep these animals in their home, because I hate to say it, but behavior kills more animals than.
Yeah, definitely.
Probably why I'm so damn passionate.
Yeah, no, that's the whole reason that we're like so obsessed with feral cats, because they're like, as a rescue community, our euthanasia policies are telling people that they're disposable. So like the message we as cat experts,
they're setting that language up. Yes.
Yeah, like and people look to the experts and sort of disconnect their logic abilities when experts are telling them something has no value. And so what we're trying to do is like tell their stories and show how much value each individual one has, and that we can, like, if we just understand them, we know they're not angry, they're not mean, they're scared, and then we see the transformation when we give them a chance. And we've had so many incredible outcomes with that approach, and so many people have seen that, like, you look at this scruffy old cat in your backyard digging through the garbage, and you think, oh, that's a nuisance, or whatever, it's going to pee on my garbage can or whatever. But now what we want is for people to see that cat and feel compassion and think that cat has a story to tell, and how can I help that story end better?
Yeah, I think that's so great. Changing the narrative, and again, like, avoiding these labels and these myths, and because like feral cats, it's a whole. Because I work with feral cats a lot, and that's a whole other. Again, there's so many.
Yeah.
With cats, you guys, we're coming. Which is how I train dogs and work with dogs, but as a vet tech, I first started in behavior with cats, because I realized no wonder my clients are having so many issues. Like, as a vet tech, there aren't any resources, and the ones that are out there are wackadoo, or they're outdated.
Totally.
And that was really eye-opening for me, and that's what got me to start to learn more and get my certification. And and I'm still learning. Like, it's so crazy. Cats are such fucking amazing creatures. Like, I have to curse. Like, that's how amazing they are. Like,
you guys, mods are gonna be like, ah. We're 98% family friendly today.
Safe on these passwords. It's okay. Well, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much.
Such a pleasure.
Yeah, I really appreciate all the time and information, and I know that we will be talking more, because I have so many more things that I
can't wait to visit once I'm vaccinated.
Yes, that would be amazing. Are you on a list or a schedule, or gonna get it anytime soon?
I had my first, so I'm getting my second recently.
Amazing.
I'm so excited because I have in-person workshops scheduled for July.
Amazing. Oh, that's really
I love webinars and stuff, but if you guys probably can't tell, I'm super extroverted. love people, and this has been hard for all of us.
Oh,
So I'm so excited that I'm scheduling conferences and stuff again because
exciting.
I miss all of that.
Yeah, well, that's good. I'm excited you've gotten a vaccine. So hopefully we'll
Oh,
all
I know in Canada it's a little more delayed.
dicey. Yeah.
Yeah, I have some friends in Canada, and I know. I'm sorry.
I know, but
I know it's a little more. I'm here in July. Does that sound right? Or
yeah, possibly July, and then
Yeah.
they're trying to do everyone's first vaccine, and then they'll worry about the second vaccines down the road a bit. So,
fingers crossed for soon.
Totally.
Everybody take care of themselves.
yeah. Yeah, so we're just trying to be safe and all that stuff. But yeah. So anyway, thank you very much, and yeah, well, I'll talk to you soon. I'll send you this. I apologize in advance for the camera angle and that you had to talk to my arm and like an empty corner. For
I
most
think
of
you
it,
were a
but...
pro considering your screens and all the things. I'm impressed. Don't call yourself such a pro. This stuff is hard. So Shelly's doing an amazing job, as you guys all know.
Thanks. All right, and thank you to the mods also who have been closed captioning everything that we've been talking about.
Oh,
So
that's so amazing! I didn't know that. You guys are amazing.
their little fingers have probably been worn to little like.
I know I talk fast. I'm so sorry.
I know. It's you talk even faster than I do, and I like ramble and
talk fast.
Just,
bless them. I need to get them present.
I know. Great. So thank you guys. Thank you mods for and thank you everybody for tuning in, whether you're on live stream, I mean YouTube or Instagram live. Yeah, you guys are awesome, and thanks for all the great questions and for caring about your cats and wanting to do better for them.
Yes,
that's awesome.
That's what it is all about. We're all doing the best we can with what we know, and we're all helping and supporting each other, which is like, I know it's mushy, but we need more of that, you guys.
Yeah, totally.
All right. Talk to you soon.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Bye.
Okay.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. All right. So she's, I think, on Eastern time, so it's like almost 9 o'clock there. So that was really nice of her to spend so much time with us. All right, so I'm going to end the Instagram. Like, there are actually cats in this room. Harvey, you're so handsome. So thank you guys on Instagram for tuning in. I apologize for the camera angle. But now at the end, you at least get a cute cat if you stuck with it through the whole thing. So thanks, and we will see if we can do this again someday. All right, so I don't actually know how to stop it on Instagram. Oh, technology. Oh, there's an X. There we go. So funny. Okay, I think we're down to just YouTube now. Exciting times. Yeah, that was some amazing CCing that you guys did. Oh, see, maybe I didn't end that meeting. I don't really know how these things work, and I haven't. Oh, you guys are missing some really cute bathtub time with the Sushi kittens. So I need to check in on Kiwi, the Kiwi. Oh, she has been off the camera. She's relocated, but is still on the ledge. So anyway, that was very interesting. Great questions, and I'm super interested. Also, it's I think working with feral cats and working with non-feral cats that are fearful. There's definitely some interesting overlap there, and then there's definitely some stuff that is not the same, and I kind of am interested in continuing to explore that because it has been a fascinating journey. And we did get some Easter eggs. I just woke Northia up. Per Tabitha's suggestion for them to use as little enrichment tools. So anyway, in this room, Riker and Mega need homes. So we are looking for homes for them. Oh, my laptop's gonna do some stuff. I'm gonna put my mask back on. And so we are on Kitten Watch, as you guys probably know, over on the other live stream for our new enormously pregnant feral catermelon. She's very scared, but she has made actually better progress than I was hoping, just in feeling more comfortable and at least using her nest and eating and all those things. So she has a ways to go, but at least is starting to feel a tiny bit safer. But we will see. I think we'll have kittens soon, possibly tonight or tomorrow. She is looking pretty uncomfortable, but she is still, I think she's still able to kind of rest in one place. Not comfortably at all, but like for longer than 20 minutes or so, but I'll have to go back and look a little bit because I haven't completely timed her lately. So anyway, we will just see and what happens next. All right. Sorry, I'm so distracted. It's been a busy week. It's been a busy maybe couple of weeks. Oh, but also good news is if you've been watching the Sushi cam, which I'll switch back over to that, I think. I think we've been poo free, not completely free of poo, but free of like a poosplosion for like 36 or 40 hours now, so which is kind of amazing. So that is exciting news, and I think that's all I have to say at this point. I think I've talked more in the last 2 hours than I have in the last week. Oh no, okay. my feet you're watching. My improperly bootied left foot. Okay, now we need to zoom, hold on, I'm just gonna zoom in on the adorable Sushi kittens, and then I'm gonna switch back over there. They're really cute in their bathtub. All three of them. Okay. All right, thanks for tuning in, everybody. Oh, not to find the, okay, here we go.